Good day, everyone. This is another time to learn in science. The topic for today is inflation. And of course, this is one of the economical topics. Yes, because inflation is one of those situations in the country where you will buy small thing with increased monetary value. So definitely is a topic that cuts across board, and everyone needs to get to know it. So inflation you can find in economics, you can find in mathematics, and you can find in financial studies. So loss in value of money is called inflation. Loss in value of money is called inflation. Due to rising prices, as time passes, money loses some of its value, which is usually given as the percentage increase in cost of buying things from one year to the other. Let's say, for example, in 2011 you got a car for, let's say, you got a phone for 20,000 naira. The same phone you now get it for maybe 60,000 naira. You can see the percentage increase in the value you are placing on that commodity. You can see that what you got for 20,000 naira is now like times 3 of what you got in 2011. So by having that, we say that we have inflation, because you have to buy small thing for which amount of money, or you have to buy a commodity for higher price. So definitely you say that the money you are holding would have lost its value. So money lost some of its values if it costs more to buy the same thing. So if you are buying sweet for 1 naira today, and tomorrow you're now buying it for 5 naira, you can see that you have inflation. So let's go by this question 1. In a certain year, a new phone costs 35,000 naira. If the inflation rate was 20,000 naira for the next 2 years, what would the same phone cost? So if we have 20% of inflation rate, so we want to know, in a certain year you bought a phone for 35,000 naira. Now, since we are having 20% of inflation rate for the next 2 years, what will the same phone cost at the end of this period? So at the end of 2 years, ní ọdún kan ó ra phone ní 35,000 naira, and nígbà tó ra phone yẹn ní 35,000 naira, wọ́n á fẹ́ wò pé in the next 2 years èló ni phone yẹn máa ṣe, kí ni ló máa jẹ́, that same phone èló máa jẹ́ phone tó ra 35,000 naira tí inflation 20%. Now, for example, in Nigeria now we are having like 21, if not more than that now, inflation rate. So nǹkan tó ra ní year yẹn ní 35,000 naira, a fẹ́ wò in the next 2 years tí ó dẹ̀ jẹ́ pé inflation rate is 20%. So what will be the cost of that commodity, of that phone, if you are buying it in the next 2 years? So let's go. Initial cost of phone is 35,000 naira, right? So, and the yearly inflation for the first year after you have gotten it, you want to know how much you will get it in the next 2 years, since your country is now having, or your state now having like 20% inflation rate. Then for the first year, a year after you have gotten it for 35,000 naira, so 20% of 35,000 naira will be what? That will be 20 divided by what? 20 divided by 100 times 35,000 naira should give you 7,000 naira. So the cost after 1 year will be that you add the initial cost of that phone and the inflation rate, which 20% of the cost, which is 35,000 naira plus 7,000 naira. 35,000 plus 75 plus 7,000 naira will give you 42,000 naira. So that is the cost after 1 year. So the phone to rent at 35,000 naira a year back, after 1 year, because of inflation rate, ultimately 42,000 naira. So that's the economic challenge of inflation. So for the second year, the initial cost, which is for the second year, initial cost máa jẹ́ for 2,000 naira. That is a year after you have gotten it. Èló ló jẹ́ ní ìbẹ̀rẹ̀ ọdún yẹn. Don't forget that when you are calculating inflation rate most times is calculated yearly because of the fluctuation in those. So average value of inflation is majorly used in calculating the inflation rate of a particular economy. So for the second year, the initial cost will now be what? For 2,000 naira. So the yearly inflation rate, which is 20%, will be 20% of that initial cost, which is 20% of 42,000 naira, will be 20,000 divided by 100 times 42,000 naira, which will give you 8,400 naira. So that is the inflation rate for that year, for that second year. So don't forget that I told you that the cost of the phone, which is for 2,000 naira, plus the new inflation rate, that year is inflation rate will be added. So for 2,000 naira plus 8,400 should give you 50,400. So the cost of that phone, the phone you got, phone to running 35,000 naira, to run 35,000 naira, maybe 2 years ago. Otiwa dikini is now increased to now become what? 52,400. 52,400. Now become 50,400. You can see. So if you check 50,000 minus 50,400 minus 35,000, you see the difference. You know that that's the what? That's the inflation implication of that same phone. Don't forget, that's the same phone. There's nothing has changed about the phone. It's still the same phone, and you are having that kind of increase. So that's one of the economic value of inflation, of an economic issue regarding inflation. So let me reiterate it. What you need to do is to do what? First of all, consider the initial cost of that commodity. Then you find the inflation rate in percent. Then you find the cost after that year. So that is how to go by it. Depend on the number of years you are given. Yes.